name's Adam Perry. I work on open source developer tools and backend services for React Native developers at Expo in Palo Alto.
So I know that you've been working a lot with React Native and build tools and different things like that. Mm-hmm. Do you want to just give everybody an introduction for people who haven't used Create React Native app? Tell us a little bit more about how easy it is to get started with that.
Definitely. So it only takes a few minutes to get started, especially if you've never built a native mobile app. So you've never installed Xcode or Android Studio on your machine, or you don't have a Mac yourself. You can install Create React Native app or CRNA. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. Directly from NPM in a few minutes and run your project pretty much instantly once it's downloaded. Mm-hmm. Contrasted with the current kind of default React Native developer experience, where you have to set up Xcode and Android Studio, which can take some time, especially for beginners. And you often have to wait for the native code to build before you can iterate on what your interface looks like. Mm-hmm. So CRNA kind of provides the native client for you. You don't have to build it yourself. And that's the Expo app that you install on your phone. Mm-hmm. And so what you essentially do is you build the JavaScript on your computer, and we've pre-built all of the relevant native code in our app, in the Expo app. Mm-hmm. And so it just loads on the fly.
That's very exciting. It's really amazing that you're actually able to build native apps with React Native so easily. How did you actually get started in React Native?
I'm not from a mobile application background. I've done a lot of web development. When I heard about Expo's project, I got really excited because I think my take is essentially it's like closing the last mile with React Native, right? React Native has so much promise for building really well integrated, high performance UIs for mobile, and doing it in a number of ways that are significantly easier than building with Swift or Java. Mm-hmm. And I think as exciting as React Native is, I was just very, very excited by what Expo's aiming to do. I think we're starting to have a very good developer community grow up around our tools, and I think that it shows a lot of promise for at least this niche of the ecosystem. I think ultimately what is most important to me is that React Native, and of course the stuff that we're building around it, have the potential to empower a lot of developers who never would have been able to do this previously. When I was younger, there were some kinds of code that just seemed okay to write, things I could do, and then there were areas where I just didn't feel it was accessible at all. And I think providing an entry point to that is really powerful.
JavaScript is what it was for me.
Yeah.
JavaScript and Ember CLI.
Right. Oh, Ember CLI is fantastic.
Yeah. Magical, you can just do this. I've been thinking about when you teach kids, all you have to do is just, for Create React app, for Angular CLI, Ember CLI, Create React Native app, just scaffold up a new app and have at it.
Yeah,
it's
really
very, very different way to learn these days.
Yeah, I think modern computing is amazing, and we have all these platforms and so much power at our disposal. But with sharp tools comes high learning curves a lot of the time, right? And so, providing places for people to dive in and just work on the thing that actually matters to them without handling all the incidental complexity around the platform is really interesting, I think.
Yeah. So how long have you actually been using React?
Not very long, actually. So I worked on a number of other open source projects. I joined the team at Expo last fall and kind of got started diving into the React world then. I'm
really?
Pretty new to this whole community, yeah.
That's amazing. So it's only been maybe 4 or 5 months or so.
Yeah, thereabouts.
That's amazing. I love the React community, and it's great that
they've been really wonderful so far. Yeah.
What's it like to work on build tools for developers?
It can be interesting. I think it's really satisfying when you get it right, but the same way that good tools hide all of the complexity of the current world from developers,
right?
The person who builds the build tools has to wrangle with that complexity, right?
Right.
And so even with a relatively new ecosystem like React, there's kind of just a lot of legacy technical debt that you have to deal with when you're targeting multiple mobile platforms.
Interesting.
And there's so much going on under the hood that's normally hidden from people, and it can be challenging to find the right ways to hide that without making leaky abstractions or things that just break, right? But I think it's I don't know. It's a pretty satisfying kind of support role to have, I think. It's really exciting to see people build new things with our tools. I definitely don't have a fantastic sense for design, but I personally really love using like fluid user interfaces, and so it's nice to kind of be involved a step back from making that possible. Yeah.
So what's Expo?
Expo is the company that I work at. We build React Native developer tools. We have kind of the core product is this React Native client that lets you load React Native JavaScript on the fly on your phone. We have a number of native modules we provide as part of that. CRNA uses the Expo client to load code, and we also have a number of like backend services for developers. So we handle push notifications for people building on top of Expo. That's something that a lot of people struggle with, yeah, we're based in Palo Alto. It's a pretty small team right now. We have a few React Native core contributors on the team. We work pretty closely with Facebook on a number of these projects.
Very cool. Awesome. Where can we find you on the internet?
Expo.io. That's expo.io.
How about you?
Me? Oh, so you can find me on GitHub as Dikaiyosune, which is spelled Dikaiosune. And on Twitter with the same name, except a 10 instead of an IO in the middle.
Cool. Very awesome. Thank you for joining.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey there. Are you into reactive programming using JavaScript? Do you have to deal with asynchrony in your web app? Then join this instructor Ben Lesh to learn all of the ins and outs of RxJS in his hands-on workshop. Available online and in person, go to rxworkshop.com for more details and to book your spot today.